Okay, we're recording.
Oh, you want me to tell you how I came to go to Israel?
Yes.
First, let me explain to you. Here is this. I have Parkinson's disease, and one of the byproducts, unfortunately, of Parkinson's disease is the voice frequently weakens. So forgive me if my voice is not as firm and as loud as it should be.
You sound good.
All right. When I was a senior, in my senior teen years, and I was in high school, I studied the history of World War I, and I was intrigued and rather enraged how the British had inveigled us into World War I by the propaganda that they fed us about the Germans raping the Belgian nurses and being absolutely brutal to Belgian civilians, and it was all a bunch of propaganda fed to us by British intelligence. So when the word first came out about the Holocaust, I was among the skeptics. I told my mother and stepfather, I told them, this is a ling. I said to them, it's a lie. I told them in Yiddish. It can't be so. The sheer enormity of the crime defied credulity. However, when the evidence came out, firm evidence, that it was so, that there was a Holocaust, that the Germans did gas loads and loads of Jews and shot Jews on the street, this plus certain accounts really shocked me. So when the Palestine Yishuv, at that time it was Palestine, and the British were still had the mandate over Palestine, and the Yishuv pushed them to open the doors to allow immigration to the DPs. Before I go into this, I want the listeners to know what the attitude of the world was to Jewish refugees. Everywhere the door was barred to them. When I spoke to the survivors, they told me one story after the other, how they would flee maybe one step ahead of Hitler, first to Holland, then to Belgium, then to occupied France, but eventually the Nazi bastard caught up with them and they were sent to concentration camps, and by sheer luck they avoided the gas chamber because they happened to be strong enough to perform labor for the Nazis. But I was terribly, terribly shocked and terribly guilt-stricken because the world at large, including the U.S., did very little for the refugees. FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, I remember how my family, and not only my family, but everyone in that working class building worshipped the ground he walked on. I think about it and I blush with shame. He could do no wrong. No matter what he did, it was right. Chuck trusted Roosevelt. Yeah, only when the word came out that the way he turned back the people on the ship to St. Louis, and how the people had to go back to Europe, and a lot of them eventually perished in the Holocaust. It was terrible. All he had to do was delay, till he managed to get them in. Cuba wouldn't let them in. Matter of fact, no country wanted them in. And even after the war, or during the war, the Prime Minister of Canada, the wartime Prime Mackenzie King, was asked, how many Jews are you prepared to take in? His answer was, you ask me how many Jews Canada is prepared to take in? My answer to you is, one Jew is one Jew too many. Anthony Eden had a private secretary who wrote a book about his experience. Anthony Eden was the foreign minister of Great Britain during wartime. And he told his secretary, when a query came from the British troops in Palestine about how they should proceed in a certain manner. He says, I'm going to confide something to you. I will not put it in writing, but I want you to know this. In any conflict between Jew and Arab, we favor the Arabs. And that is a fact that his secretary wrote in the book. So the whole world had closed doors to the Jews. When I got to college, I joined the Hillel Youth Group at City College, and they had a chapter of ISFA, Intercollegiate Zionist Federation of America. And I joined ISFA, and I became involved with Zionist affairs. It was there that I met Dave Kaplan, who later became a dentist. During the lead up to the United Nations decision to partition Palestine, I engaged in running guns to what was then the Yishuv. Dave gave me a violin case, and he had golf bags, and we went around to ex-GIs collecting weapons that they brought home from Europe. A lot of GIs brought home weapons from Europe that they were not supposed to. Is that our phone?